referee Steve Gray has come under fire after Lewis Ritson's dad David threw the towel in to save Ritson from further punishment at the hands of Jeremias Ponce from Argentina. People are acting like this has never happened before. It's happened before in the ring. It's at the referee's discretion to accept the resignation from the corner. There's also the liability of the referee to make sure that the correct party has thrown the towel in. The reason why it's at the referee's discretion is often the cornerman can get a little emotive and start throwing towels all about the place. In 2007, I remember when Michael Katsidis defended his interim WBO belt against Graham Earl at Wembley Arena. And Graham Earl took a few counts. In the second round, Mickey Van, he threw the towel out. And almost immediately after Mickey Van rejected the intervention, Graham Earl stunned Katsidis, had him on rubbery legs, standing 8 count. However, Graham Earl was stopped between rounds 5 and 6. But that's an example of where the referee might get it right. I'm not saying that Steve Gray got it right. I'm not saying he got it right, but it is at his discretion. Nobody was saying Mickey Van made the wrong decision, allowing Graham Earl to continue. No one was being negative, and that's because he came back to stun Katsidis. If Lewis Ritson had got back up and put on a battle and went the distance, people would have said it was a good piece of refereeing. And if Ritson had came off the canvas as Steve Gray threw the towel back out and came back and stopped Ponce, who would be saying anything negative about Steve Gray? Nobody. And if Dave Ritson wanted to, he could have just climbed through the ropes and got Ritson disqualified if he felt aggrieved by Steve Gray's decision to throw the towel out. Let's just be thankful that Lewis Ritson's okay, but I don't think no shade needs to be thrown Steve Gray's way, personally. He acted within the rules. Just because we don't see it happen often, it doesn't mean it's an incorrect decision necessarily. Lewis Ritson himself, he wasn't annoyed that the referee threw the towel back out. He said he had no problem with the controversial moment during the 10th, when his corner threw in the towel and the referee elected to ignore it, threw the towel back out, which allowed the contest to continue and for Ritson to take more punishment, obviously. He gave a massive thank you to the messages, support, and to the fans last night. He said the noise was unbelievable. It was like there was 10,000 in the arena, not 1,000. He said they, as boxers, try to push themselves in boxing to the highest level that they can. And he said he's honest and a realist. And that next level seems to be a step too far for him. He said we'll keep banging on the door and there's loads of great fights out there for him. Truth be told, he shouldn't have even made it out of the first round. And it took everything in him to do that. He kept fighting until the end. The corner told him he had one more round to change things or the towel was going in. He told Owen under no circumstances not to throw the towel in. And he has no problem with the referee throwing it out. He said he could have knocked him down 100 times and he would have got back up. He said he's tried to get to the level that everybody dreams of and get a world title fight, but sadly, he's tried and failed. And he's not at that level to get there. But being back home with his family is all that matters to him. Him and his partner have one daughter and have got another on the way. And they're picking out names. And he's very excited. I was wondering if Eddie had options on the winner, Jeremias Ponce. But apparently he's co-promoted by Frank Warren. So Frank getting a little get back for Felix Cash, taking out Denzel Bentley for the 160 British title. So he's in line to fight for one of Josh Taylor's belts, I believe the WBA belt. He's 27-0, Argentinian. Jack Catterall has been waiting around longer for his mandatory shot, so I guess Josh is going to take care of that first. But this Argentinian, in my opinion, is a good fighter, so let's not sleep on him. He's about 28-0 now. A great gas tank, decent chin, brings the attrition, throws the right hand a little awkward at times, but the uppercut is a good shot for him. He's a good body puncher. He had Ritson in trouble in the first round with body shots and he ended the fight in the 10th with a body shot. Argentinians normally have good chins, very good chins, good stamina, and you don't know what you're going to get. I don't know if Ritson is just at British level. Maybe that's what it is. But this was a step too far for them. Teofimo Lopez is back, the multiple belt holder at 135. I'm not here to really discuss if he's undisputed or not. He is the man, but he should fight Devin. Now, he's taken on his mandatory for one of his belts, which is KAMBOSOS, the Australian, George KAMBOSOS. This is going to be on Triller, on the fight website. They give you a few options. You can just purchase the standalone pay-per-view for $23, or whatever that is in UK money, or you can get a 1 month pass for $29, or a yearly pass for $300. I don't know what Triller's end game is. I'm sure it will reveal itself as time goes on. They paid $6 million for the purse bid for KAMBOSOS and Lopez. And I'm assuming they won't be able to get Justin Bieber on there and Doja Cat with all the money they paid out on the purse bid. How much does it do on the fight website as opposed to being on ESPN? This is Tiafimo's first breakout pay-per-view fight. Had to go to war with his promoter Bob Arum to get some extra money and to get an outside party to put it on pay-per-view. I don't know how it does. The fight itself, I'm expecting Lopez to win. I think most people are. Looked in very good shape. KAMBOSOS, aggressive, looks physically strong, but I don't see much more than that. His knockout ratio is less than 50%. He did well against Mickey Bay and Lee Selby to get split decisions, but I'd argue that both of them are past their sell-by date. I'd be shocked if Lopez didn't outbox him, break him down, either win wide or points or get a stoppage. Caleb Plant, he claims he's been envisioning being undisputed champ since he was a kid. It's all he's thought about. But if that was the truth, yeah? He won the IBF belt January 2019 and David Benavidez regained his WBC belt a few months after. They were on the same promotional outfit, the BBC. How comes he didn't attempt to make a unification fight with David Benavidez? If you were really hungry for being undisputed, you try and amass as much belts as you can as quickly as possible. It's not a process you can take your time about and say, okay, I'll wait 2 years to fight Benavidez. It's just going to take too long. So these are lies. These are just lies. Caleb is very dishonest, and this is what a lot of boxing fans are finding increasingly frustrating. He had an opportunity in May 2020 to defend his IBF belt against Canelo. He said, after beating Vincent Fagenbutz, that means taking half a month off after a 3.5 month training camp and then go right back to work so they can get me when I'm overworked. I mean, everything is, oh, they're trying to get me, they're trying to disadvantage me. And this is, for me, becoming increasingly frustrating to report on boxing. You can't control the narrative, you can't control the media, golden boy. They'll make you an offer knowing that you just fought. And when we say no, it seems like I'm ducking him. And look what he goes on to say. He says he's world class, he's a world champion. He's on his own time. Don't be fooled, we're going to get him. He has fights left on his contract. Why doesn't he go beat Billy Joe Saunders, check, and Callum Smith, check, and become unified, and then he, Caleb, will whoop on David Benavidez and become unified? Well, that didn't happen. That's because of David Benavidez and the taco stand, apparently. But let's get it straight. Caleb would not have fought him anyway, because when he had the opportunity to do that in 2019, Benavidez called him out. He didn't do it, and then David lost his title because he took cocaine. So Canelo did everything that Caleb told him to do, even though Canelo was the A side, and Caleb did nothing except sit on his ass and wait to be the last man called up. And the fight hasn't been signed. And with Caleb and the PBC's track record, I'm not holding my breath that the fight happens. Let me just leave you with this one, just in case you think I'm picking on PBC fighters or Caleb. How does the fighter, who's a natural 154-pounder, have this meaningless baby belt, WBA belt, moves up to your weight class in 2020, and within a year, he's got 3 straps and you have 1. He's had that belt since January 2019 and hasn't attempted to fight any of the rival belt holders from the other sanctioning bodies. None. But he's had a dream since a kid to be undisputed. Okay, so Eddie's got the rematch clause he wanted for the AJ USYK fight. A lot of people of voicing their displeasure. And a lot of these people are basically privileged people who live in the UK, kids, trying to be edgy and all subculture and all anti-establishment. But if they grew up in the circumstances that I did, if I'm a lot older, or my parents, they'd look at life a little different, you know what I mean? Like, this is grown man shit. And you can't have a grown discussion. They'll be saying, well, if AJ's got so much confidence, why have the rematch clause? Well, if any of you are so sure about yourself in everything you do in life, I'd like to meet you. Because nothing's 100%. They've got the rematch clause because they can get the rematch clause. They fought, AJ has fought, and Eddie has promoted their way into a position that they can get rematch clauses. You can't just get rematch clauses. If USYK was getting the standard split for a mandatory, do you think Krusak would engage in a rematch clause? No, he'd just let the fight go to a purse bid. It's like driving a car. You can drive the car without no insurance or no breakdown recovery premiums, if you like. It doesn't mean you're not confident to drive the car. If the car does break down, depending on how much you paid for it, you might want the truck to come round while you're on the roadside, perhaps fix whatever issue you have, or if not, tow it away and get a lift to where you need to go. I'm not going to spend too long on it because you said Joshua was going to duck the fight, and he hasn't ducked the fight. And now you're complaining about rematch clauses, which is standard procedure if you're a fighter who earns above a certain pay grade. So, you know, what's the point really? What's the point? What's the point? I don't like to listen to these people or read what they've got to print. These days, man, it's just upload and just get out of their way. Just get out of their way. And then if USYK was to get in a position where he was commanding big paydays, doing big pay-per-view numbers, and he started trying to get rematch clauses in his fights, you know what they say? AJ did it. But hold on a minute. You don't respect AJ. You don't think his resume is any good. You don't think he can fight. You think he's a coward. But yet, you're holding USYK to the same standards as someone you don't respect. USYK's supposed to be on a different level, according to you. But your best argument is AJ did it? Who the fuck cares? USYK probably wanted the rematch clause. Where's he going to get 2 paydays like that if he was to win the fight? Eddie, AJ. Listen, do something with your life, man. Do something real. I've heard a few people, not many, but a few groaning that JOYCE is going to take on Carlos TACKAM for the European title. This is a tougher fight than Danny Dubois. Until Joe nails TACKAM, this is going to be a tougher fight, a way tougher fight. TACKAM is really short, but he knows how to use that low center of gravity to his advantage. He's a difficult target to connect on. He's got fast hands. He's faster than Daniel. He doesn't have a lot of power. Joe should be able to take the power. And you can catch TACKAM in lapses of concentration, especially if he fatigues. Between him fatiguing and catching that second wind, you can catch him. And that's what Joe is going to be expected to do. If Joe wipes him out really quickly, a lot of people won't agree, but I'll be thinking that's an exceptional win. Eddie Hearn snubbed by Sky Sports in final show with broadcaster after 10 years before moving to rivals DAZN. What about the AJ USYK fight? That's going to be on Sky. Or will AJ's Matchroom contract have run out by then? Anyway, the card that went by at Newcastle, 1,000 fans turned up, obviously because of the restrictions. But there was no slot with Eddie Hearn and no package or montage of their most iconic moments. Presenters Adam Smith and Johnny Nelson paid tribute to Hearn's work, but Hearn, he confirmed he was blanked by the producers, who are watching him take talent away from their channels. At the launch of his 3-week summer fight camp, when asked why he didn't feature on his last ever Sky show, Hearn confirmed he wasn't asked to. He thinks at senior and executive level at Sky, his departure was met with understanding because they are aware of the size and gravitas of the deal and the opportunity for Matchroom globally. But at production level, there are people who probably thought we're not going to give Eddie any airtime on Saturday. He said that's alright. He never expected them to come out and glorify him when he's heading to a competitor. He's going to another platform to drive up their subscribers, so they probably didn't want to give Eddie any airtime. They probably thought we've built Eddie up over the last 10 years and now he's off. So we will talk about our own new deal on Saturday, which they spoke about at length. So we're talking about Boxer, BOXXER. They've signed a 4-year deal with Sky Sports. They're going to take over from Eddie. They put on the Ultimate Boxer tournaments. Pretty vague, but fight schedules will be announced very soon. Sky are also putting on some top-ranked cards at the graveyard hour, not prime time. Shakur Stevenson kicked it off on Saturday. A lot of people weren't impressed. I don't think boxers like Shakur Stevenson are going to impress people all the time. The likes of Shakur and Devin must be a little wary of losing their identity. They're not big punchers, they're boxers. If they come off their toes and start trading and get knocked out, then I don't see what the point is. I think they've got to be patient, wait for them career-defining fights, and then show what they can do. But no, he's not exciting, and no, he's not going to be making a whole lot of noise. And anyone who's defending Shakur saying, well, he deserves to have his name up in lights, not with performances like that. That doesn't happen. If you're going to perform like that, it has to be against the very best or the most popular, which may not necessarily be the very best. Then you have the bargaining tool, at least theoretically, to say, well, look, I've just beat the best, or I've just beat the cash cow. If you want to be the best or consider something in the game, you have to fight me. But there's a lot of pressure there, isn't there? I mean, it's easy to say stay disciplined and stick to what you know. But the criticism is coming hard and fast. Even his mentor, Andre Ward, who I'm hearing there may be a falling out between the two, was saying he didn't enjoy the performance. He wanted to see Shakur walk his opponent down. Devin got caught with a little shot against Linares when he was trying to look more exciting. And he has to work out who he wants to be. Does he want to entertain, excite, or does he want to maintain a winning record, concentrate on hitting and not get hit? I think a problem for a lot of these young African-American fighters is a lot of people are comparing them to Floyd when they were a similar age, or are they going to be the next Floyd? Shakur, last year he said he thinks he's better than Mayweather was at a similar age. The other day, Shakur said he would be one of the hardest fights Floyd ever had. In the 2016 Olympics, Floyd was trying to court Shakur to sign him. Instead, he went with Bob Arum. Floyd has left one of the hardest gaps to fill that I've seen since I've been watching boxing. I believe even harder than when Ali left and Larry Holmes had to follow in his footsteps. The reason why is Floyd, 50-0, champion in multiple weight classes, made more money than any athlete, let alone boxer. I haven't done the math, but if we was to start calculating who's got hit the least fighting at a similar level for a similar amount of time, you'd have to figure his name would be quite high up there as well. And Floyd's thing was to tell everybody, look, this is easy. It's hard work, but it's easy. When he's saying hard work, dedication, that's not penetrating. What they're hearing is when he says easy work, that's what they're hearing. And a lot of them are falling way short. And I think that's because, they're struggling to find their own identity. Then you got Floyd when he stunts with all the money, the jewels, and a lot of these kids are just lost in the sauce, basically. I think it started with Broner years back. Anyone who knows the channel, massive Pat Barrett fan from when he used to fight at 140 back in the day. Great knockout puncher. And he's went on to coach and promote his cousin, Lyndon Arthur, and his nephew, Zelfa Barrett, who was Lyndon's cousin, from small hall shows all the way to BT. Now, Zelfa's got a deal on Matchroom, and Lyndon just secured his biggest win ever against Anthony Yarde last December. Very close fight. Lyndon got a split decision. Now, it could have went either way. Tunde and Anthony didn't react to losing in the most sportsman-like way, but Yarde did humble himself and say, look, it wasn't a robbery. At first he was saying he was robbed, and he said several times it wasn't a robbery. He's looking forward to a rematch. And I'm going to be honest with you, right? I'm seeing a little bit of that Northerner, I'm better than Londoner attitude come out in Pat Barrett now. That's what it seems like to me. Just like Joe Gallagher and his stable. And he's from Manchester like Pat, Lyndon and Zelfa as well. And it's getting a little annoying now. Yard landed the harder punches through the fight. I'm not saying Yard won. It was very close. But the way Pat's talking is like, we don't need the Anthony Yard fight. Well, Anthony Yard doesn't really need the Lyndon Arthur fight, if all be told. He's saying that everybody is giving Yard preferential treatment, citing that BT may have put it over on a broadcast like it's Lyndon fighting Anthony Yard, not the other way around, making a real big deal of it. Like, Anthony Yard hasn't got a whole load of criticism since that fight. In fact, Anthony Yard has been under steady criticism since the Kovalev fight. But he's acting like Anthony Yard is getting preferential treatment. It's getting a bit overbearing, I'll be honest with you. Now, I don't know what the paperwork is, but there appears to be a rematch clause in play. Now, I understand that he's ranked number 1. I don't think they've made it mandatory for Joe Smith's belt. And I understand that Pat would rather take the world title fight than fight Anthony Yard again. I get it. But if Frank Warren, Team Arthur and Team Yard have agreed to have another fight, well, at least morally, you owe the public another fight. I want to see the fight again. I want to see it again. I think Yard deserves another crack at that fight. And I think Lyndon deserves another crack at it. Because Lyndon, to me, didn't look that great. He didn't look that great. I didn't see a complete fighter. Pat said he was 80% because of the shoulder, and perhaps that's true. We'll come back at 100% and let's see what you can do. And that's a big problem today. A lot of boxers, you scrape a points win, and then you're acting like you dominated the fight. The other day, Lyndon said he beat Yard comprehensively or conclusively, and he didn't. He didn't. Yes, I think Yard should pursue the fight, but if they're going to act like that, I think Yard should move on. I believe Yard has more star power, potentially. Just move on. There's great fights out there for Anthony Yard. Pat Barrett talking about we don't need to do this, they should do that, and they should do this, and we don't need that. Come on, man. Yard had a higher ranking than Lyndon before the first fight, but Yard still went in there to have a big domestic clash. Yeah? If you want to sell it to the British public that you're the top light heavyweight, because I believe a second victory over Yard would put you ahead of Boatsi. Definitely ahead of Callum Johnson, who ain't did shit since getting knocked out by Beterbiev.